Bonjour mesdames et messieurs, in this episode we shoot some Los Angeles skyline. Bonjour mesdames et messieurs and welcome to episode 78 of my photography, Lightroom and Photoshop tips. My name is Serge Ramelli. I'm a French photographer living in Paris, but I'm in Los Angeles, Hollywood. Alright guys, in last episode I showed you how to shoot, how to retouch a photo in the Retouch type of poster. This week we are in Hollywood and I wanted to have a good shoot of Los Angeles and the skylines. So we are on the Hollywood Hills and I just want to show you like exactly how I do it with the camera so you have a very sharp shot. Because one of the main trouble people have is blurry shots. But I've got a recipe guys and here it's coming. So this is how I do this. I'm shooting with a 7D with a 24-70 on. Why 24-70? Because Los Angeles is very big and I don't want like a sort of a big photo. I want to narrow on something. So this part I believe is like a bit of Hollywood and downtown. So I'm kind of zoomed in. I'm with 70, with a 70 at 24-70, I'm at 70. So as you know, the 70 has a 1.5 factor. That means I'm really around like 100. Okay, so here I go. I turn on the camera, which is already done, crazy. I go into the, first I start in the AV mode and I'm gonna put something like, yeah, I want the city lights to have to look like stars. And for this, aperture needs to be above 8.0. So I'm gonna go straight to like 9.0 or let's go crazy, 11.0. Closer the aperture, nicer is gonna be your city lights. And actually bigger is going to be your depth of field. Next, I'm going to put the ISO at 100 because I've got a good tripod and that's very important. So ISO 100. I'm going to put the white balance on shade. You know I'm crazy about shade because shade is the best white balance to get a good warm feeling of the city. So that's about that. And so I'm going to frame my shot, which is what I'm doing now. I have my autofocus on, so when I'm going to press half, on this button, it's going to focus real sharp. That's cool. Now comes the most important part. The most important part is if you press a shutter and you take the photo, there's a good chance your photo is going to be blurry. Why? Because when you press the camera, it shakes a little bit. So the way to get around that is to put it on timer. I'm going to put it a 2-second timer on. So now when I press the shutter, it's going to wait 1-2 seconds and nobody's touching the camera while it's shooting. And this is the main trick to get a sharp photo, apart from obviously having an amazing tripod. And this is an amazing Gizmo tripod. Okay, now that's the other trick. I look at my photo. I've shot it in AV mode. So, I'm not crazy about AV mode because AV mode, I let the camera decide everything. I don't want that. So, but what I look is that it took the photo at 1/10 f11. I think this photo is a bit too bright because I like it to be a bit underexposed to get all the details in the shadows, but all the details in the highlights also. So what I do is I go to manual and I'm going to put F9. And instead of putting 1/10 of a second, which is what I just had in AV mode, I'm going to go 1/6 of a second, which is a bit faster. And as it's faster, it's going to be darker. And I'm going to I'm going to get a more dense sky and more crazy drama. And that's what I want. We have a lot of pollution in Los Angeles. So I'm going to get that as like a real nice sky. So this is a bit early to take the shot, but I like to get ready. And when it's going to come dark in about 20 minutes, I'm going to be all ready to the shoot. So voila, that's the main trick. The main trick is to really be on the tripod, 100 ISO, get your f-stop to go really long, because if there's any cars going on also, it's going to make lights trail. So you want the longer exposure. So anything about f9, f10, f11 is good. It also does this star thing and 2-second timer and you're just good to go and you get really sharp shots. So then let's retouch them now. Just a little note before we get started. We are extending our discount. You can still get 40% off any course on the shop. All you have to do is click on direct download, and in the discount code, you can just enter Christmas and you will get 40% off any course for a limited time only. Voila. Okay, so finally, this is the shot I'm going to be using to retouch the photo. I actually shoot that shot earlier, the night before at the same spot. And instead of using the 7D, I used the 5D. But I went at 22nd at f10, ISO 100. I could have done it with the 70. It's just that that's the camera I had the day before. And actually, I'm using this photo because the sky, after I recorded the live video, became very blank. And there was like nothing in the sky, when the other day, the day before, the sky was nicer. So check this out. So finally, I was at f10 and 20 seconds of exposure. Now, 20 seconds of exposure is interesting for that. Check out the highway. They become just streaks of light. And this is what I'm talking about stars and the light. Look how the lights are like little stars here, here, everywhere in the city. It just makes the whole photo nicer. And that's because I'm around f10 or, f11. So, and see how sharp the photo is? It's pretty sharp, And that's because I use a tripod and a timer. A lot of people don't use a timer and they use a tripod and they get blurry shot. It's very, at this time of the day when it gets so dark, you have to be really spot on. Now, the retouching itself is pretty easy. I would just do as usual, open up the shadows, bring down the highlights, press the Alt key, do the whites, until I see a lot of city lights, and then do the blacks until it gets really dark in there. Okay, so that's already quite something. I think the night before I was not on shade, so I'm going to put the whole photo on shade. Yeah, on shade it makes the whole photo a lot warmer. But remember, to get some depth, it's important that the back is a bit blue and magenta. So I'm going to add an ND filter. I'm going to press the Option key to reset everything. I'm going to make the exposure darker, and yeah, something like that. And just one little trick: when you are moving this around, if we press the Shift key, well, from the start actually, if you press the Shift key and then start doing the level, it's going to make your ND gradient filter completely straight. Okay, and then let's add a bit of blue and a bit of magenta, for the color depth, so we have something a bit, cold in the back and cold and warm in the front. That creates some depth, as I explained you last week on the Paris photo. I'm going to reframe this photo. I want this maybe to be, the rule of third. This is interesting to have like in the first, third of the photo, maybe a bit less of foreground. Just make it a bit more pano, something like that. Yeah, that's interesting. That's power. Then add a bit of clarity. Now, if you add clarity, it always takes some saturation off. So I put it back with vibrance. And I'm pretty happy with that, Pretty sharp shot. That's the before. That's the after. Before, after. Wow, a lot of change. Now, important, on this photo, they create a lot of impact when they're very sharp. So it's already pretty sharp, but I'm going to go into the lens correction. I'm going to enable profile correction. Oh, no, I'm going to show you that at 100%. Look, enable profile correction. It's just going to take out some barrel effect. On the 2470, I'm shooting this with a 2470. You can see that in the profile, I believe. Yeah, 2470. It's a lens that has not very much distortion and not very much vignette. That's why when I enable the profile, it doesn't do much to the photo. So anyway, I'm going to still leave it on. Remove chromatic aberration. Just put it on, in case there is some hidden chromatic aberration. And now the very important part on this is the noise. I was shooting at ISO 100. I don't believe this photo has got a lot of noise, and I want it to be sharp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my luminance at 100. Oh, not sorry. I'm doing not sharpening at 100. Yeah, sharpening at 100. And I'm not going to take any noise because I know it's there was a lot of not noise there. But you see now the sky is very grainy, so I'm just going to press the masking tool with the Alt option, go to the right until the sky is totally black. And now we have a very, the sky is blurry again, and the photo is very super sharp. And that was the whole point, is how to get very sharp photo in the night. So I kind of like the result. Let me show you again the before and after. Before, after. Yeah, quite a view of Los Angeles, and I hope you learned something about shooting these night shots. I do that all the time, and I really wanted to show you like the live video and the retouch video. Thank you guys, and let's go back to Los Angeles. Okay guys, I hope you learned something in that tutorial. I love being in LA and I love shooting these skylines. I think they're pretty amazing, and I will see you in the next episode.